Hey guys, my name is Jeff Smith. I'm the digital media coordinator here at CFBISD, and we're back again for another edition of the CFB Check-in. Today, we're joined by Vivian Field Middle School Principal Chad Hunter. Chad, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to go ahead and dive right into it. During this school closure, we've kind of checked in with some principals and staff around the district, and I just wanted to touch base with you. Kind of how have you kept in touch with your staff during this closure?
Well, obviously, we literally overnight went into this virtual world, right? So I got really good with Zoom and Google Hangouts and WebEx, and there's even more platforms that are coming out. But that's obviously the number one way that I'm able to still collaborate with staff and still see their faces and hear their voices. Right now, we have it scheduled where pretty much once a week I meet with each department. Sometimes I will even we'll do one with the whole staff depending on the updates that we get, because there's a lot of changes that happen each week within the week. So sometimes we may even do a whole school one, but I like it better when it's just smaller departments and I can see all their faces and hear their voices. And they always have great feedback to give me and great questions. So it's really important that we have those platforms to collaborate, because we need as many brains thinking through this as we can. So that's been the main way that I've kept in touch with them. Yeah, we're going to keep doing it that way until we can do something different. So
couldn't agree more. During a time like this, communication is definitely key. In keeping touch with your staff, what are some of the goals that you've set for those group of individuals to achieve during this time?
Yeah, so right out of the gate, we knew that we had to start providing some at-home learning opportunities for our kids. And that's a lot easier said than done. So really our big goal right now is how can we do that in a way that isn't overwhelming for parents and students? How can we organize it? How can we communicate it clearly with our families? Our other big goal was to try to also find out what technology and internet needs our families have. And so our teachers called all of their homeroom classes and we're able to get some data for us that we've been able to then give to CFB so they can make plans to support those families. But in terms of a big goal, obviously we want, we have our scholars have 7 classes, and our real goal is that all 7 of the learning opportunities our kids are engaged with. So we really want to make sure these learning opportunities are fun and engaging so the kids want to come and participate in all 7 of their classes.
That's going to be very important during this time as well, is just being able to continue the learning process while we're home and away from the physical classroom. You mentioned earlier that, there are all these platforms that you've used to keep in touch with your staff, but, how have you used the virtual meetings and these platforms to keep in touch with your student body?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when we were back in school, I usually once a week, I would go into one of the lunches and I would just pull some kids, and I called them my principal advisory committee, my PAC meetings. And I would take these kids and we'd go sit at a separate table. And I usually had, set questions that I wanted to ask the scholars and get their feedback on. And I think that's even more important now than ever. And so what I've been doing is every Monday at noon, I do a Zoom that any kid can jump in on. I have a principal Google Classroom now, so I post those Zoom meetings at around 11:45, and then we start at noon, and the kids can type questions to me. I even allow, at certain times, I just say, all right, if you have any questions right now, and they unmute and talk to me. But their feedback is critical right now. They're the ones that are living this at-home learning. And so I take that information and provide it back to our team so we can get better. So that's what I've been doing so far in terms of the virtual world. Once a day, I try to call, I try to carve out some time each day to just call random parents. And typically, I want to get, their feedback as well. But I usually ask them, hey, is your son or daughter around? And if they are, they hand the phone over, and I'll ask the students some questions on the phone too. But those are the 2 main ways that I'm trying to keep in touch with the kids. Obviously, the principal Google Classroom, kids post questions in there that I can type and answer. So those are my ways of trying to stay in touch with the kids.
I think that's a great opportunity that you've given those kids to empower them with the opportunity to talk to you and talk through this whole thing. Because like you've mentioned, this is new. This is something we've never experienced. With that being said, what would you say would be has been the best moment you've had with either a student or a staff member since the closure started?
Okay. So, this all kind of went down when we were on spring break. And so we didn't come back the week after spring break. And it was really about 3 weeks before we rolled out live chatting with kids. And we were doing it as a staff, but we hadn't really rolled it out for kids. So for 3 whole weeks, we didn't really get to see their faces and hear their voices. And once we finally got to do that, I just started jumping in on some of the teachers' live chats. And the first one I jumped into was a band class. And I just jumped in, I didn't say a word, and I just listened. And I got to hear these kids play their instruments and share what they've been practicing at home. And I got emotional. I mean, to finally hear their voices, see their faces, and to see them being really vulnerable at their own homes. They're in their own bedroom, playing an instrument, and just being just overwhelmed with how proud I was that these kids were, what we call at Vivian Field, rowing the boat from home. So that was the one moment. That first live chat with kids definitely stuck with me.
Well, now I'm glad I asked the question, because even just hearing that little snippet kind of brought me up a little bit.
Yeah,
I can only imagine what it's like across the district.
It was definitely needed, and it's even I've been continuing to do that, jumping in on random live chats and just listening and hearing the teachers interact with them, because they have great relationships with their teachers, and so I just get to see it. That's the part that I like. So.
Well, hey, keep it up. It sounds like you guys are doing an awesome job there at Field Middle School, and we appreciate you for jumping on today, and look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. It was my pleasure.
I heard from someone in my office that you used to be a sportscaster on the news. And so if you didn't mind, could you just tell us a little bit about what that was like, and when it was and how it
Sure.
went?
Yeah, so this is a long time ago. I was a broadcast journalist. I do have a journalism degree, and at one point in my life, I thought I was going to be the next ESPN sports anchor. And I interned for KLBK and KMAC in Lubbock, Texas, while I was a student at Texas Tech University, and did a lot of grunt work. I did a lot of taking cameras to small towns and filming high school sports. And my senior year, when I was really doing the actual internship piece, I was trying to build my virtual resume, my tapes. And so they were allowing me to do that. And what they would do is they had a 4:30 a.m. sports broadcast, and we would record it the night before, and then it would be shown at 4:30 the next morning. And I'm pretty sure the viewership was maybe like one person. So for my last semester in school, I was able to do the 4:30 a.m. sports that was on KLBK. So yes, I do have, there are some tapes out there somewhere of me on the 4:30 sports in Lubbock, Texas. Yes.
Hey, and if I'm doing a good job, we're gonna find those tapes. But no, I appreciate you answering the bonus question. You passed it around. And again, thanks for hopping on today. It's been great.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jeff. And like I said, welcome to CFB. I know this is a weird, to start in December and you're just barely got some time under your belt, and now we're doing this, but you're doing a great job. I see the stuff that you're doing, and I know I've heard nothing but good things. So keep up the good work.
Hey, it's appreciated.